Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So for those of you new here, my name is Finbar and I'm a full-time gigging musician based in Edinburgh. And I've been full-time for about 6 years now. And now I coach musicians from all over the world online to help them build set lists that are ready for gigging in pubs, bars, or whatever venue you want to play at. And one thing that I've noticed over the last almost year of teaching people is that many musicians think that in order to play real rock songs, you need a full band, you need big amps or distortion to make these kind of songs work. So if that's you, you are missing a trick. Now, I've also played in cover bands, which has allowed me to convert a lot of those songs into solo acoustic versions, and you would be very surprised how well they work. I have found that some of the biggest rock anthems hit just as hard when they're stripped back to an acoustic version. So in this video, I'm going to show you 5 brilliant rock songs that really shock people when you play them acoustically. And I'm going to walk you through exactly how to play them. Now make sure you stick around to the end of the video because number 5 is probably my favorite on this list and there's a little personal story to go with it. Now song number 1 on the list is one that's quite special to me. It's definitely one that helped me to learn guitar when I was around 12 or 13, sitting in my bedroom trying to play along to popular songs at the time. And it is Seven Nation Army by White Stripes. Now this is one of those songs where the riff is almost bigger than the song itself. And in the original key of E, if you were to try to play that riff on acoustic, you'd have to go up here onto the A string, 7th fret. Ideally, you would start lower on the E string to replicate that bass sound, but you're gonna have to start down here on an open E string, and then you can't go any lower. Now that's one of the issues with the original key for this song. The other issue is that it's way too high to sing, for me anyway. So if you're to try to sing it in that original key, you'd be like, I'm gonna fight them all, Seven Nation Army. Right, that's way too high for me. If you've watched my other videos, you'll know that I'm a broken record when it comes to the message of changing the key of songs to fit your voice. So for this song, I do not play it in E, I play it in A, right? So if you play it in A, I'm gonna fight them all. Much more manageable key to sing. But now that riff is much easier to play as well. We can start on the 5th fret of the E string. Now, I'm not gonna play the riff the whole way through the song because I'm playing solo acoustic. However, if you are somebody who uses a looper, this is a perfect song to play on a looper. If you want to see how I play this song with a looper, I'll actually post a link below this video that shows you kind of how I play it quite simply. So how do I actually play this song as part of a solo acoustic set? So firstly, let's go back to that riff. The actual notes that you're playing there are A, C, A, G, F, E. Now we can play those chords instead of playing the note itself. Now I find that A minor works well as the first one instead of an A major. So we're gonna go A minor, C, A minor, G, F, and E, okay? Now I'm gonna show you some little shortcuts, but those are the chords we're gonna go with. So it's gonna sound something like this. Now we can play that the whole way through instead of playing the riff. Now, a few shortcuts on the chords. So we're gonna start on the A minor, then we're gonna go to the C, right, as normal, then back to A minor. Now, instead of going to a full G, we're gonna make it slightly easier. So from that A minor, we're gonna keep the index finger where it is on the 1st fret of the B string, and then we're gonna bring the 2nd and 3rd fingers to like the start of a G chord. So we're kind of cheating here a little bit, but we're still getting that bass sound of the G chord in there. So we're gonna go A minor, C, back to A minor, then we're gonna go to a kind of a G, but you still got the 1st finger on the 1st fret of the B. And then for an F, instead of doing a full F, we're gonna go for an F major 7, which is much easier to transition to from where we are on that G, F major 7. But if possible, cover the 1st fret of the E string with your thumb, just to get that bass sound through the F chord, okay? And then to a normal E. Okay, so A minor, C, A minor, to this cheat kind of a G, to F major 7 with a thumb, and then to an E, right? So let's speed it up. Now, This is not so easy to sing and play at the same time. It did take me a lot of practice, but this is what it will sound like if you can get to that point, right? It's gonna go like this. I'm gonna fight them all. 7 Nation Army couldn't hold me back. Right? As I said, that took me a lot of practice. If you want to simplify the playing of it while you're learning it, a nice way to do it is instead of going, right, you're gonna go, so you're actually gonna cut out the G. So you're just gonna go A minor, C, F, E, A minor, C, F, E, right? So now you're cutting out having to do that da, 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 which is hard to do while you're singing. So you're gonna go like this. I'm gonna fight them all. 7 Nation Army couldn't hold me back. Right? So that makes it much easier to sing and play at the same time. So you're just gonna continue like that for the verse. Then at the end of the verse, you've got that bit that goes, and the message coming from my eyes, it says, leave it alone. So for that bit, all you're doing is a C to a D. And the message coming from my eyes, it says, leave it alone. And then, if you want, what you can do is alternate. When you're not singing, you can try to do the whole thing. And then when you start singing again, simplify it back to just the 4 chords, cutting out that G in the middle. So in summary, for this song, how I usually play it is I start with the riff. Right? Everybody recognizes that. And then I'll go into the chords. And then I'll start singing. And if you want to simplify the playing of it while you're singing, just cut out that G. It makes it a lot easier. By the way, if you are building your set list right now, trying to get out there gigging or getting more gigs, I've put together a solo gig confidence checklist. So what I have in there is a list of 30 crowd pleasers that you can play on Acoustic. I have an email template that you can use to reach out to venues to try and secure some gigs. And I also have a Google Doc on crowd interaction tips to help you build a good rapport with any crowd. If you want to grab it for free, the link is below this video. All right, song number 2 is an ultimate 90s rock anthem, and it is Smells Like Teen Spirit from Nirvana. Now, this song is obviously best on an electric guitar, but it can work well acoustically. So the way this song is actually played is with F, A sharp, A flat, and C sharp. And these are played with power chords. So now, while that sounds okay acoustically, it's not so easy to play it that way and sing it. The other problem with playing it like this is the key. So if we're to try to sing it in this original key, Kurt Cobain style, right, it's going to be very high. So it's going to be like, load up on guns, bring your friend, it's fun, right? And then when you get to the chorus, I'm not even going to try to attempt it, right? It's going to be way too high. So we're going to do 2 things here. We're going to bring it to a key that is singable, and we're also going to use open chords so we don't have to play those power chords the whole way through. So I'm going to get my capo, I'm going to chuck it on the 2nd fret. And instead of starting on that power F chord, we're going to start on an A. So now we're in the key of B instead of the key of F. I'm going to start with an A to a D to a C to an F. Okay, now we're going to play nice open chords, which is much easier and it's going to sound nicer acoustically. So let me just give you a quick idea of how it sounds now. So what I'm doing here is I'm playing an open A, then I'm playing a D, that's a D without the middle finger. I think is that a D sus2? Then a C, and then I'm going to F major 7 again. So that's F major 7 with covering the bass note with the thumb. Strumming for this one is probably the trickiest bit. It's quite a difficult type of strumming. So you're kind of going, if we're to slow it down, we're going. So you're going down, 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 up, down, up, down, down. Let's slow it down, right? Down, 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 up, down, up, down, down. Down, 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 up, down, up, down, down. Okay, so you can play it like that in the intro, And then when you get to the verse for singing it, I prefer to bring the volume of the strumming down a little bit, do a bit of palm muting with mainly down strumming as well. So we're going to go like this. So I'm just going down, 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 down. What I'm doing here as well is I'm kind of just emphasizing the bass notes of the chord instead of the full open chord. So it kind of gives that muted sound. So now it's going to be like this. Load up on guns, bring friends, it's fun to lose, to pretend. Right? So you continue like that. Eventually you're going to get to hello, 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 hello. Then when you get to the chorus, you can open up the strumming again if you want. Back to what we did for the intro. When the lights out, it's dangerous. Here we are now, entertainers. Right? Continue like that for the chorus. And then at the end of each chorus, there's a little bit of an awkward kind of, I wouldn't even call it a bridge. I don't know what you'd call it, but it's like where it goes down, 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 down. Right? So what you can do here is on that A. So you got to go from an A to an A sharp, right? So A to an A sharp, then A, D, C, okay? So all open chords except the A sharp. And then back into your muted strumming for the verse. All right, next up is another big favorite of mine, and it is a classic Rolling Stones song, and it is Satisfaction. So this song is originally in E. This one is actually very simple to play acoustically. So you got 4 chords. You got E, A, D, and B7 if you're to play it in this key, right? So a nice way to start this one off is actually by playing the opening riff, which is very simple. You're going to go on the A string on the 2nd fret to the 4th, 5th, and the 5th. Sorry, 4th fret and the 5th fret. So if you can, also hit the open E string, because that's the chord that's kind of over it initially. So you can start it like this. Or if you can hit the E string as well. That's usually how I start the song, and then I just go into the chords, which are so you've got a E to a very short A and a D. Right, really simple. This key is quite high though. For me, it's very close to my limit of my vocal range. Starting off in the verse, it's okay, but when I get later in the song, it is quite high for me, but it's just manageable for me. In that verse, it's very simple. You've just got the E, A, and then back to E, and then there's a B7 in there, right? So it's going to go like, I can get no satisfaction, right? And then it's going to continue like that for another line, and then you're going to get to, but I try, and I try, and I try, and I try. And then you're going to get to probably the most recognizable bit of the song, which is, I can't get no. And then you're going to be transitioning from that E to the D with a very quick A in the middle. I can't get no, and I can't get no. So for this song, and in fact for all of my songs, I usually tune my guitar down half a step. But when I'm making these videos, I bring the guitar back to standard tuning just so that everything makes a bit more sense for most people. But for this song specifically, when I'm tuned down half a step, instead of being an E, I'm actually an E flat. And it makes it much more manageable for my voice. Even that half a step brings it just within my range. But for the purpose of this video, I'm in standard tuning. If you want to see me play this song the whole way through, I'll post a link below this video where I actually have a cover of me playing it at a recent gig, tuned down half a step in E flat as well. So if you want to play along with that, tune down half a step and use the same chords. All right, song number 4 is another completely underrated song as an acoustic cover. It's a massive crowd pleaser, but it's never a song that I get asked to play. and it is Sweet Child of Mine. I don't think I've ever been asked at a gig to play Guns N' Roses, because as an acoustic player, people don't think that you're going to be able to play that kind of stuff. So that's why playing Sweet Child of Mine is always a brilliant one, because it's so recognizable, but nobody expects you to be able to play it. Now, the opening riff is obviously so iconic, but you can actually do very well with this song without playing it. If you do want to play the riff, maybe at the start of the song, it's just on that D chord. You can play around with it like that, but I often play it without the riff completely. I just start in the D, and then the chords are going to be D to C to G, and then there's an A major in there as well. Now, the original key is actually D flat. So again, if you want to play along with the original for this one, you can use these chords, but you're going to have to tune down half a step. Either way, the chords are nice and simple. Instead of actually playing a C in this song, I like to play C add 9. I just think it sounds nicer, and it's also kind of easier to transition between the D, C add 9 and G. So this song can actually be played a few ways. One is quite chill, laid back, nice easy listening, right? She got a smile that it seems to me reminds me of childhood memories, right? Nice background music if that's the vibe at your venue. If you want to rock this one up, you can just open up the strumming, much fuller sound. She got a smile that it seems to me reminds me of childhood memories. So you can see the difference there, right? And this goes for any acoustic cover. You know, you can play songs slowed down, stripped back, or you can play them more up-tempo with fuller strumming, depending on what vibe you're going for on a particular night. But honestly, you get to the chorus of this song and it is guaranteed to get people singing. Like, everybody knows it. In fact, a lot of the time I start my sets with this song. If I was to pick one song that I would say I start my gigs with, like the majority of the time, it would be Sweet Child of Mine, just because it's so universally recognizable and it can be played a few ways. If the vibe is chill, you can play it nice and chill. If the audience are high energy from the start, as soon as you get to that chorus, oh, sweet child of mine, guaranteed sing along every time. Now you might be saying, what about the big guitar solo in the middle, right? Right, forget it. Just forget it. Leave it out. You don't need to do it. You don't need to do solos like that. If you're playing a solo acoustic set, you can leave those bits out entirely. Just play the chords, do the singing parts, and you'll be amazed firstly, how much of an impact a song will have on an audience, and secondly, how nobody will ever come up to you and say, oh, but why didn't you play the solo? Like, it just doesn't happen. Now, when you get to the end of this song, there is the section that goes, where do we go now? Right, so the chords for that bit are going to be E minor, G, A minor, C, and D, right? So it's going to be like this. Where do we go now? Where do we go now? Where do we go now? Where do we go? Right, you can just play around with that bit, sing it however you like. If you do want to end with a bit of an Axl Rose sound, right, you can bring out your inner Axl Rose if you want, but not necessary. Alright, I'm glad you've stuck around to song number 5, because this is my favorite on the list, and it comes with a story. So just last month, I was booked to play a private corporate gig at Murrayfield Stadium in Edinburgh before the AC/DC concert. Now, up until then, I never actually had any AC/DC song on my set list, but I knew that I could not show up to this gig without having at least 2 or 3. So I learned a few AC/DC songs in the lead up to this gig, and to my surprise, many of them were much easier than I expected. So the one I'm going to share today is classic, right? Highway to Hell. Really fun to play, and honestly, it's become one of my favorites at the moment. Absolutely love playing it at my gigs. So the original key of Highway to Hell is technically A, but it's like slightly detuned. So it's not quite tuned low enough to be A flat, and it's not quite high enough to be A. It's like somewhere between A and A flat, which makes it very difficult to play along with the original. Basically makes it impossible to play along with the original. But for the purpose of the video, we're going to play it in A. You've just got A, you've got G and D. pretty much it the whole way through. So it starts on the A, then it goes to a G, but you're going to alternate, on that G, you're going to alternate the bass note between F sharp and the G bass note, right? And that's what gives the song that iconic kind of sound in the intro. So it's going to be like this. Actually really simple. So A, switch to the G, and then you're going to go, all you're doing is alternating that bass note. So it's going to sound something like this. Living easy, loving free, season ticket on a one-way ride. So you're just going to continue like that for the verse. Then the last line of the verse, you're going to jump to an E. My friends are gonna be there too. I'm on a, right, A, D, G. I'm on a highway to hell. On that G again, you're alternating G to F sharp bass. So let's go from the end of the verse into the chorus. My friends are gonna be there too. I'm on a highway to hell. Highway to hell. 4-chord song, driving rhythm, and as soon as you hit that chorus, you're gonna have a whole room singing along with you. So there you have it, 5 absolute rock anthems that translate very, very well to acoustic. Let me know below this video what rock anthems you like to play on acoustic, and I'll see you in the next one.